Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In 2025, our podcast had over 26,000 streams, and our YouTube channels had over 1.4 million views. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, we'll help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor a podcast at spinmarket.com. Spin Market, your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Okay, we are back for another Monday
Yes.
of the Spin Market Report. It's Marketing Monday, always on Mondays.
And it's the best day because that's the day we really get to talk about marketing to everybody, whether it's bringing in guests like we have here today or other interesting marketing
Yes,
activities.
absolutely. Today we got Neale Adams in here. Neale, you work out at Iowa Central. Seems like we just got the whole fleet of Iowa Central people out here the last few weeks.
It goes in spurts, but they all had really great stories to tell, so we had to get them on.
Yeah, if we've missed anyone out at Iowa Central, hit us up. Otherwise, we're going to talk to Neale today. Neale, you are the Associate Vice President of Instruction out at Iowa Central. Big title. Could you introduce yourself, maybe just a little bit of your background, and we'll get into exactly what your title is here in just a little bit.
Sure. Well, essentially, I work with all the 2-year terminal degrees at the college.
Okay.
So any program that doesn't transfer to a university, nursing, welding, automotive, carpentry, all those types of skill sets.
Okay.
That's the programs that I oversee and work with those faculty.
All right. How did you end up getting to Iowa Central? Because we had talked a little bit before the recording. You've worked there for a while.
Yeah, since college, graduated. Originally from Australia. Came over on the boat back in the mid-'90s. Played
Literally?
baseball in college. No, not a boat.
Okay, not literally on a boat. Okay.
No.
That'd be
My dad
awesome.
would have paid for that, though, probably. Played baseball in college at Iowa Central.
Cool.
Went off to get my bachelor's degree and came back actually to coach baseball.
Oh, nice.
Is the reason I came back to the college. And apparently to get a green card or a work visa, coaching baseball doesn't quite cut it.
What?
So I had to get a real grown-up job and kind of got into faculty teaching and then ended up administrative work after a while.
So as far as the Associate Vice President of Instruction, like what exactly does that all entail? Because I kind of tried Googling it, seeing what you do. It seems like it's kind of broad, but kind of you have your lane though too.
Yeah, it really is. It's like I said, career and technical education is kind of the area that I work with the most. I also obviously work with a VP of instruction on quite a few larger type of projects, things that we're aiming at as an institution as a whole. So really kind of supporting Dr. Menser on her initiatives. But really 95% of my job is dealing with the career and tech education side of things.
All right. So like what does a typical week look like for you then?
Well, that's the fun part. Nothing ever looks right. It's always all over the place. Realistically, we're working with schedules, programs, working with different business and industry partners, seeing what they need from our employee or our students who will be their employees, working with the faculty, new program development, working with Perkins government funds to initiate new programs or expand or modernize existing programs. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's trouble students in there sometimes. You have to work with those individuals too. And really, the 65 faculty I have working with those daily.
Yeah, I will admit that I went to college 3 different times. So the third time was the charm. I might have been one of those little rougher around the edges students the first time I was in there.
Yeah, it's funny at graduation, you kind of walk around the stage and you're like, I don't know these people because they're the ones you don't get to see very often.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but the ones that don't get to graduation, those are the ones that you kind of spend more time with.
So how about like supporting the faculty across the different departments? You'd mentioned a few different departments you work with. Obviously, you had also mentioned like interacting with people that are out in the industries.
Yep.
That was something that was new to me when I graduated college and I came back and kind of talked about what I had seen out in the industry. I guess I didn't realize there was that cohesiveness, but after interviewing Iowa Central people, I've realized there's a lot of cohesiveness here. But supporting the faculty across these different departments, how do you go about doing that?
It's interesting. You're taking practitioners, people in industry that have done the job, that know how to work with customers, that have, done whatever they do, whatever they're good at for years, and then creating a teacher out of them is really what you're working at, because these individuals didn't go to school to be education majors.
Yeah.
They went to be mechanics or they went to be welders, went to be nurses, whatever that might be. But for whatever reason, they have a passion for educating and for teaching individuals. So it's really working with those folks and helping them become the teacher who they want to be.
Well, and that's really important because they see all sides of it.
yeah.
Because they're not just only educating them in that skill set, but they're also have been out in the trenches.
Yes.
And know how to talk to them on customer skills and a variety of other things. And this has been such a big, not only at college at Iowa Central, the CTE program, but also how it's developing within the middle school and the high schools here in town.
Absolutely. We
as
spend
well.
a lot of time with
Yes.
middle school and high school students because you just don't walk into college and say, I want to be a welder, or you want to be whatever that may be, a carpenter or a culinary chef. You got some sort of background or some sort of a niche that's brought you to that profession. So we feel it's our job also to reach out to those younger students, whether that's traditional, non-traditional, when I say that, males in a female dominated profession or vice versa, to expose them to the career fields that are available with the skill sets that they have. So yeah, that's a big part of it. And then when you get to industry, the only reason we exist is to provide employees to industry. So if we're not providing what they want, then we're not doing our job.
Makes
so we
sense.
spend a lot of time through our advisory committees or just partners we have in the community to make sure that the skill sets and the courses, the curriculum, the outcomes, all those things are all aligned with the skills that they need to be successful employees once they graduate.
Yeah, it seems so obvious, now that I'm like in my 30s. It's just like, oh, of course you want to change with the times and change with the industries and teach what the new things are and stuff like that. If it was that way, like the accounting students at Iowa Central would just be doing everything on pencil and paper.
Correct.
There'd be no so it makes a lot of sense. One of the things I had on here was balancing academic quality versus student accessibility. And I didn't really think too much about this until I was kind of like, you could open it up to everybody, but then that doesn't necessarily always do everybody justice. It doesn't always do the program justice. It might not do the student justice. But like, how do you balance that? Because it seems like it might be kind of difficult.
We're an open door policy institution. I mean, we will accept anybody, obviously, and don't saying that negatively. We want people to come in. Just because you weren't a great student in high school does not mean you won't be a great CTE student.
Can confirm.
Right. I mean, there's certain classes everyone takes at certain stages in life they could not care about. The fluff classes, Mickey Mouse classes, right? Things you have to do to get through the hoops. So we really don't have those. Now, what we do have is certain prerequisite and criteria to get into certain programs. And then that's not cutting people out. That's just making sure that once they get to those programs, we feel they can be as successful as possible. We don't want to set anybody up for failure. So we do have certain programs that are waitlist type of scenarios where you apply, depending on your GPA, maybe job placement or experience, job shadowing type of responsibilities, letter of recommendations. That'll help you get to the top of the list. And others, we just say, come on board. We'll see what we can do.
I love that because it's not about gatekeeping people out of like an education. It's about making sure that they're ready for the education they're actually going to get.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about the willingness of the student to learn. And if somebody wants to be in a certain profession, we're there to support them as best we can to give them the resources and the opportunities to do so.
That's really cool.
It's been really exciting also to see how our companies in our community have embraced working with Iowa Central and understanding that this is critical for them for employment, future employment, and starting in the middle schools and the high school and then through Iowa Central and being mentors to those students as well. It's just, I work with a lot of different companies here in Fort Dodge and the region that have actively participated with Iowa Central, and it's just been really exciting and hear their story and as well. So kudos for you on getting that coordinated.
We want to be a resource for those companies. Yes. As they grow and expand, as the region grows and expands, we need to have more employees. And there's only one way to do that, and it's to grow your own, especially in a rural part of Iowa.
And it's one of the big things with economic development and keeping the students here, like with Leadership Fort Dodge, the junior leadership is getting them to know that those resources are here and they can stay here in our community. They don't have to go someplace else.
Correct. Yes.
So one of the things I like to talk to people about on this podcast is there's challenges. Every job has challenges. So what are some of the biggest challenges maybe that you're facing or that people that are providing like academic resources to people like the leaders out at Iowa Central? What are some of the biggest challenges you help alleviate out there? I
don't know if I alleviate it, but funding is always a challenge. And when you talk about keeping things modern and up to to the level that employers want that shop, because we want students to walk into our labs and our shop spaces and actually have what they'll have when they go out to the workplace. So staying current on those things is probably the biggest challenge. Technology is also the biggest opportunity we have as well, though, to stay current on technology. So that would be an issue. finding highly qualified, good employees in the academic realm. And by that, I mean, industry is paying a lot of money these days. You know, people aren't just going out and making $10, $15, $20 an hour anymore. You know, we have many of our graduates who are making more money than our instructors year one or year two out of the gate.
Wow.
You know, so to draw someone from industry to come into the classroom, which already is scary, number one, because talking in front of people is never a fun situation for a lot of people. And then taking a pay cut potentially to do the same thing, to do something they're uncomfortable doing, that's a large challenge.
Wow.
Yeah. 20 years ago, or 15, 20 years ago, when we were advertising, we'd get 20 applications for a industrial type of job, 1 or 2 these days. It's a harder challenge to get people to look for that. And it's not that our job's bad or the benefits are horrible. They're all the same they were. It's just that the other industries, they're paying a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's what it is.
Yeah, especially like nowadays, I feel like trades are that way.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
and that's what we're trying to pull from is from the trades.
Yep.
So if they're already making $120,000, $130,000 a year in industry, well, come let's teach for a living. You know, it's difficult to convince them.
And I don't think other people or everybody understands the cost of bringing in the different equipment that you need, like the sim lab. And your dental assistant. You know what even a dental chair costs just to bring in.
We're actually going through dental chairs right now.
I know you are. That's why I brought that up. And I know how much they cost.
Yeah.
And understanding that without those resources, you can't provide a quality student
Correct.
to come out.
Yes.
And they have to have that. If anybody wants to go through something that's absolutely amazing is the sim lab.
Yes.
Through Unity Point and Iowa Central, it's mind-boggling. And we saw part of that when we were doing the CTE stuff at the school, Fort Dodge Community School. Theirs was not anywhere close to what you have in that sim lab, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it was like a mini version of it. It was kind of nice to go in there and see. It's even crazy to think at a high school there's that kind of equipment there.
And the kids were just loving working with it and learning. And it was so eye-opening for my team, or the whole team there when we were there, to see how students were embracing it. And the juniors and seniors were working with the middle school students, and everybody was really doing a great job.
Yeah, one of my favorite things from that was like, you go into these situations, you're like, I bet this kid's just gonna be goofing around, and he pulls up the table that had the body on. I don't remember what they're called, but he starts looking through. He's like, "Oh, this guy had pancreatic cancer," and it's like, "What are you in like 10th grade? And you're diagnosing pancreatic?" It's so cool.
Yeah, the anatomage tables.
There you got it. Yeah, and that is a chunk of change.
Yeah, those were so cool though.
They are, and actually, I think we just started a vet tech program here a couple of years ago. We're getting our first graduate class this May, and they're actually adding animals to that same table.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so really the technology once again is there. It's just the upload, the softwares, and all those things that keep things current. But you don't get that for free.
That's true.
There's no free lunch, people.
Yes,
no free lunch.
Keep paying for that.
All right, so how do you define student success, and or how do you evaluate whether or not a program's successful?
Well, student success is so individualized. Okay. We have students that come from different walks of life, and they have different expectations and goals once they get there. We have students that come for one semester because they've got 3 semesters done in high school already. So that they may not graduate. They may just need the classes. They want to go to Iowa State, Iowa, UNI. So they meet their goal. By standard of federal and state regulation, that's not a completer, right? That's not, they didn't stay for the 4 semesters. They didn't get their degree, their credential, but they met their goal. The students I work with is employment. That's really what successful experience is.
Okay.
If they can come through and gain those skills and the necessary outcomes and requirements of the program, go off and get a job, provide for their families, that's a successful experience for the students.
Okay. Yep. So does that like also transfer to the program itself then too? As long as the program provides all the education they need to get to their final goal, then it's successful. It did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, I think that would be very close to it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors in there. But yes, if there's jobs available, we're once again training those individuals for those jobs. They're able to obtain that job and keep the job because they have the skill sets necessary. Then yes, I think that program is successful.
What about launching new programs? Because this is something I know that Iowa Central is constantly changing and evolving, adding new programs, adding new courses, adding new little bits of things to just align with, I guess, what the needs of the community are. But how does that process look? Like, how do you decide we need to launch a new program here?
Actually, I met with a hospital yesterday about a new potential program, and they reached out to us about some legislative changes that are happening that will actually open up a new profession. underneath another one, essentially, like an assistant to somebody is what it is. But so we have things like that where community members or businesses reach out. We started a process tech program a number of years ago when all the biofuel plants were starting up, because they came to us and said, hey, we're going to put these in town. We need employees. What can you do? Right.
Now we have a biolab.
Exactly. Yeah. We bought biofuels and we stayed in the testing side of things. We haven't stayed as much in the actual program. Those businesses found they can hire off the street, train internally. That's fine. We're not needed anymore. So a lot of those things happen. We've started some programs just based on growth. We want to see growth at the institution. So we felt like there was a need for something. No one actually came to us, but we just thought that, adding a plumbing program would be good. Something we haven't had before. And that's when we then reach out to the industry partners and ask for their expertise and their help to help us set up that curriculum. So it's a number of different ways. But really the biggest thing is we do look at cost, obviously. There's certain programs that are just cost inhibitive, potentially of facility space. We don't have much square footage left out there anymore.
That's true.
Building wise, we're pretty full.
But you're working on one.
We are working on one. Yep.
The Ag Center.
The Ag Center, yes, which is going to be a beautiful building.
Oh, yes. And what an appropriate, it's a great location on there, as well as a perfect segue for our community.
Yes.
And bringing in additional businesses that are ag related.
Yeah, and that'll align more space for other programs too.
Yes, very much so.
Because those multiple programs will come out of existing spaces, which will allow for renovations for the next generation of programs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a challenge on that side of the space you have. But as long as there's need and there's good employment, gainful employment available for individuals, then it's definitely something we're always considering.
This is pretty fun because I feel like you answered that so well, I can almost just skip the next couple questions. So it's like, how do you ensure programs align with workforce needs? How important is the employer input? Do partnerships with local business impact your instruction? It's kind of neat to hear how sometimes you'll reach out to them and sometimes they'll reach out to you. And sometimes you have I was on the advisory council for the accounting program for a handful of years, and things like that. So you sometimes you'll have an advisory council and you'll say, I noticed this, and is this happening in your department now, or is this something we can change? Or some people came out and they interned and I noticed they either do or don't know how to do these things. And so you can kind of give them little itty bitty pointers to kind of just fold into their curriculum to kind of help things out. How about technology? We had touched on a little bit with that, was it anatomatage table?
Anatomatage, yeah.
Yes. So how is that, changing things, or AI, let's kind of talk about those two things.
AI is changing things a lot.
It's wild.
It is. It's and our biggest challenge with that right now is AI is not going away.
No,
right?
No, it is not.
We need to find a way to educate students to use AI to their advantage in the profession, while still keeping their core skills, their critical thinking, personal responsibility, effective communication, all those types of things alive for them so that they can still think for themselves, but then think of ways of using AI to enhance their abilities. Our challenge right now, and I think it's pretty obvious, is students using AI in classes for things they shouldn't be using them for.
Possibly, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But
that's always been a problem.
it has. It's just a new way of doing it.
It's a new way of doing it.
Yes. So that's the challenge. But then trying to teach them that this is a good product. This is something that will enhance their abilities into the future. I mean, we have faculty using it. I use it, right? I mean, it's there, and it can make you better at your job. You still have to put the information in to get the information out, in just a cleaner fashion, perhaps. But just learning how to teach them how to use that. And it's something that we're learning how to use right now, too. So it's very hard to teach someone how to use it when you're still perfecting your skill set on it. Yeah.
I feel like that's something that, it's no different than, one of my favorite things when I went to college was they taught me how to discern from good information from bad information. That was literally my favorite thing I took away from basically every class. Cite your sources. Is this a good source? Is the information credible? Can you go somewhere else and find the same information from another credible source, et cetera? That's no different than AI. I used to think, well, if people can Google, why can't they just AI something? Well, because AI will spit something out and you'll be like, well, this is all facts, sounds good. And then you don't act. It's okay for a baseline for things, but I feel like it's that bottleneck of people have to put in a little bit of work and they think they're just alleviating a lot of the work when in all actuality, it's actually just a tool to help them, get to the finish line. No different than Google or the internet was or any of that kind of stuff.
And we're trying to teach them that you can, if you get away with it here, whatever, but when you get to the workforce, you're still going to have to come up with ideas and think about things.
Yeah.
So you can fluff your way through anything in life until you get caught.
Yeah.
And I'd rather get caught and figure it out now than when your job's on the line. Right.
Yeah,
so
100%.
those are the types of things. But once again, teaching them how to use it properly. You know, using the resource, like you said, in a productive manner to make you better at your job.
Yeah, I went on like 2 or 3 hour research yesterday about like why people use AI, the way they use it, et cetera, and it's not a whole lot different than just basically anything else out there in the world. You know, it's a tool, and sometimes people are just, I don't want to say lazy, but sometimes people are just easier going with their critical thought process than others. There was a psychological term I looked up for it, but yeah, maybe we'll do a podcast on something like that, because the research I was doing was just wild, because I was like, this is today, this is what's happening right now, and it actually is no different than literally any other tool that came along and changed the game. So
it just happens quicker. You know,
yes.
We live in a society where if you want an answer, you pull your phone out and you get the answer.
Yeah.
You don't wait till tomorrow. You don't wait to ask somebody else. There's no arguments anymore with a friend, right? Because you have the right answer right in front of you.
Yes.
You know, that day is gone.
that was kind of the fun of those days, though.
Exactly.
That debate coming back and forth.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Yes.
Wasn't this person in that movie? And they're like, no, they weren't. Now you can just boom, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah.
But that you bring up a good point, though, is there is no time anymore. It's if you have to embrace it, you have to learn it. If you don't, you're going to be left behind.
Correct.
And I think that's even more scary than the actual tool behind it and using that. It's the fact that all of this stuff is getting thrown on everybody, on the students, on the teachers, on everybody, and everybody's trying to figure it out, and it's going, and we're still trying to figure it out, and it keeps moving farther ahead, and lots of moving parts there.
Absolutely.
So one of the things when I was a student, I went back and I did in course, in classroom courses. I also did online courses. So one of the questions I have here is, do you see online learning continuing to grow? Is that something, I don't know what the stats are. I don't know if there's more people doing online courses or less, or how that all works out at Iowa Central. But not only that, but how do you maintain that academic integrity in those online courses? Because I'll even admit I found it difficult at times, where it was just like, I could just Google an answer, or instead of doing the critical research to find the answer that I want to find or that I should find.
Right.
But
right.
How do you ensure all that?
Well, first question, online education is not going away.
Okay.
I think it's just going to continue to grow. We've morphed different courses into hybrid type courses these days too. Once again, time is money. People want that. People want access to education while they're working full time, those types of opportunities. And it really has hurt the night classes, the summer classes, things like that. Yeah. A lot of those types of sessions no longer exist, just because why would you sit in a classroom all summer long when you can just get online whenever you want to and do your coursework? So that's kind of killed some of those different offerings, same as night classes, things along those lines. The academic integrity is always going to be a challenge, right? There's no guarantee that the person at the end of that computer line is the person who say they're going to be.
Oh, yeah, true.
We try to break that down is we try to create assessments that we can utilize that draws out the human element in people. Oh. Right? So it may be some more writing type of things, scenarios. It's not always all multiple choice. It's not always your true falses. You try to get short answers in there, essays, things along those lines. To make sure that you're analyzing the ability of the individual, not just the information that maybe they're regurgitating.
I like that. You're like literally not like forcing them to do the critical thinking, but kind of, you're just like, hey.
You're trying to analyze it.
Yeah.
You are, because you don't have them right in front of you. We also have things like discussion topics that replicates classroom interaction.
Yeah.
So we post out there 4 or 5 different topics every week in each online class, and students need to post back to those 8 different times over 4 different days. And there's different things along those lines that try to collaborate information between students, between the peers, to make sure that they are learning and that they're sharing that information. They're questioning others like you would in a classroom.
Yeah.
That you're going to get some discussion going back and forth. Now, it's not perfect because it may be 3 days between discussion, between comments back and forth. But you try to create that similar classroom experience for the students.
And that's really not a whole lot different than just going online and being online in the real world. You go on social media, all the places, like somebody might respond to this 3 days later, and you're going to have to, come back with a critical response to their response.
Exactly.
I believe it or not, that was always the one thing was like the responses. There's so many people I went to school with. They're like, this is my least favorite part of the course. It just takes time out of my day and stuff. I loved it. I love being able to go in there and just being like, I agree with what you're saying here, but did you ever think about this? And like sometimes people would respond, sometimes they wouldn't, because sometimes I feel like I'm just giving them the softball, here you go, let's just volley it right back to you. Yep. And you see what you got, like just hit me with something back, and I guess that comes back down to, again, if the student's going to take it seriously, they're going to get something out of it. And you guys at the very beginning of this episode said you're kind of making sure the people that are going into certain courses fit the needs for those courses, and they're mentally ready for these.
We try to advise them. Obviously, you can't tell someone you can't take a certain course.
True.
But we can look at them and say, hey, your academic history doesn't lend well to being successful when you're a procrastinator. Yeah. And if you're a procrastinator, then you're not going to be successful in the online environment.
Yeah. I could vouch for that too, because when I went back at 27, it's like I had to fire up an engine I hadn't been running for a long time to get back onto it. So what makes a great instructor? This is something that I always thought was kind of interesting about these questions I got down here, like supporting the faculty's development, et cetera. But like what makes a great instructor out at Iowa Central?
Obviously, you have your foundational skills. You have the knowledge you need to have in that subject matter. The experiences, the whatever that may be to qualify them to teach the course, first of all. Then you've got to have a compassionate side to you. You realize everyone's a human. Yeah. Right? I mean, we get sick. Kids get sick. Their kids get sick. I mean, we're dealing with non-traditional students as well that have young families that they have to take care of. So really, the ability to care, the ability to be compassionate, to be willing to give everything you have of knowledge to that individual to make their life better. Those are some of the skill sets we look for in individuals. Yeah. Another
one of the things, like I'm just going to re-highlight this because I liked it so much. Enabling the people to utilize their critical thinking, in those situations. I don't know why I like that so much. That's definitely going to be a reel I'm going to pull out of this, because I feel like that's so important to get people to just use their brains. Everyone can, we all like to, but I think our default is, let's see what I can get away with here. It's like, I can't remember what they called it. It's like cognitive something, but you basically you kind of want to just offload everything off your brain. But the people that can kind of pull that out of you are some of my favorite teachers I've ever had in my entire life, actually made me think about something instead of just being like you said, true, false. Yeah, that's true, whatever. So I've had a lot of teachers out at Iowa Central. I still remember, I went there about 10 years ago, and then about 20 years ago as well. But I still remember a lot of my...
We have a few students been there for 10 years.
But there's a few that I still, to this day, if I see them out in public, I'm like, hey, we work with Dawn Humberg here. She was an instructor of mine for a long time out there, and she did a great job, helping me change my life for the better and stuff. So I have a big soft spot in my heart for Iowa Central and the instructors out there.
Well, I think you brought up some really good points in talking about critical thinking. On the positive side, I feel the internet and AI in some ways has helped to bring critical thinking to another level, in the fact that in the chats, sometimes people don't want to say anything in a class because they're embarrassed or whatever, but they feel better about making that statement on a chat.
Like AI chat,
right?
Versus the classroom chat,
right? Exactly, on there and going and getting that information out there. So in some ways, I can see where that's a benefit, because they're shy in class and they don't want to ask a question. They're not afraid to ask a question to somebody that they're not actually looking at.
Sure, yeah.
And one of the things I liked about Iowa Central, and I mean, obviously you have a handful of Iowa Central people here. It has impacted me in my life, but what makes your guys' institution so unique compared to maybe some of the other ones? I feel like Iowa Central is more than just a community college. Like when you get out of high school and then you're like, oh, you're going to a community college. Like this is, again, 20 plus years ago, but I feel like it's not that anymore. The community colleges have all changed, and I feel like Iowa Central has changed so rapidly that it's like a mini university out there. But what makes your institution so unique compared to possibly some other ones?
Well, I think you touched on it there. All the extracurricular activities we offer. I mean, the athletics, the fine arts, all those, the theater productions. I know Sean was in here recently, and he just had a great production here a couple of weeks ago with the
He's
fine
a great
arts
addition.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all those types of things. We're not a commuter campus. We're not that suitcase campus. I mean, we have over 1,200 kids living on campus in a college of 5,000-6,000 students. So we have all the opportunities that students need to experience a college life. Not every institution has that opportunity. A lot of people just go to school, leave, and they don't spend any time there. But there's always something going on, whether it's an athletic event, a play, a theater production, a musical type of thing. And I'd like to say the people too, the people at the institution that have put a lot of time and effort into these individuals, these students. It just makes it different. And everyone has good people, but we feel like we've invested in our people. We try to hire people that fit the culture of the institution, that really believe in the mission of the institution. And obviously that's to get people to the next level in life cheaply and as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. That really, to me, and like I said, I've been there for 25 years, going on 26 this year. I thoroughly enjoy it. I wouldn't keep going back every morning if I didn't. So, and that's because of the people. The environment changes. We're adaptive. We're modern. We try to produce the best individual we can for the community that we serve.
All right. So I feel like this has just been such a positive conversation about like the good impact Iowa Central has had, generally speaking, on this community, like the 9+ counties around this community. There's people that go to Iowa Central that might leave the community and go on to do great things as well. There's some that have stayed here as well and done great things. There's some that have stayed here, done great things, and then went back to Iowa Central and become instructors as well. It's really kind of a cool thing to sit down and think about all the positives that have come out of Iowa Central. So the next question I have for you is, if you were to take your lens and zoom out and say over the last 20-ish plus years, what has been the most rewarding part of doing all of this? It's kind of a broad stroke question, but
yeah. I mean, individually is growth. I think, like I said, I came back from college and I came to coach baseball. Mm-hmm. Is what it was, and I had no intentions at all of staying at Iowa Central past a few years. I mean, I had all the ambitions of Division I head coach, all these types of things.
Yeah,
and it's weird. You get into a new job, which to me was instructor, and then all of a sudden opportunities opened and doors opened, and then I moved up. So from a personal level, just that professional growth of I know who I was 25 years ago, and who I am today, and it's two totally different people. Yeah. And actually, Dawn Humberg, who you mentioned, actually was the chair at the time when I got my first part-time teaching gig.
Oh, cool!
At the college, yeah. So I still remember showing up. I was working on the fields, and she'll probably attest to this. But I was working on the grounds crew, basically working on the football field, baseball field. I might have been covered in mud. Maybe an irrigation pipe broke, and we were digging stuff. And I had an appointment with her at 1:00, I think it was. So I showed up, hat on backwards, mud all over me, and she looked at me like, "Who are you?" Yeah.
I can just see that look.
Yeah, she was impressed. Yeah. She gave me that look a number of times over the years. So,
Can confirm. I've gotten that look.
Yeah, but being that person to who I am today, I think that's probably personally my thing. From an institution standpoint, just the growth we've had. When you're talking about, obviously we have 3 sites, Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. We've added numerous career academies, regional centers over the years. I was fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of the development of those programs. The high school partnerships that have been developed over the years, the early bird offerings, the concurrent enrollment classes students are taking in high school, the amount of money that those kids and those parents are saving by taking those classes early. The new initiative of the Triton Academy, which is basically high school students attending college classes on our campus to get into programs early. Things That's like cool. that, right? The initiatives we've tried to start to benefit not the institution per se financially or anything like that, but it's really about the consumer, the student coming in. How can we get these individuals started in the professions that they want while helping out the K-12 system, because those programs are extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. And one thing we did find when we were doing a little research about the offerings that high schools do, and they're doing great offerings, don't be wrong, but there's certain programs that exist in certain high schools. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be an auto mechanic and you grew up in, I don't know, let's say Neale, Iowa, there's no program there, so you can't become an auto mechanic, right? There's no exposure to it because they don't have a program.
Yeah.
Bad example. I think they do have a program, but I think you're getting my gist there. Yep. But so we tried to step in and become that location where we would provide our facilities and our instructors and our equipment to students in high school if they're interested in those professions.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really resource sharing at its best.
That's not a whole lot different than like when I went to school. It's like, well, you can take English 101 at Iowa, from Iowa Central at your high school. I went to Humboldt High School, but the teacher, if they're doing auto mechanic, they can't bring like all of the tools and everything and an engine for you to work on and everything like all the way to your. So that's really kind of cool that you guys have found a way to still involve the schools in these things that might be a little bit more cumbersome than just saying, let's write a paper.
Yeah. So now a kid in Humboldt can jump in their car, drive down here and take our automotive program.
I love that.
Junior or senior year, and start their progression. Maybe take a year off. Yeah. Actually, some of our programs, you could graduate with your AAS degree before you graduate high school.
That's wild.
You see that frequently now.
With the AA degree we
right,
have.
AA,
with the
right,
transfer
yes.
one, because they do a combination. Online classes, high school classes, and college. But now they're getting into some of these programs. Actually, in Storm Lake, we're offering a full welding program for the first time starting this fall.
Cool.
And it's a 1-year diploma, so there'll be high school kids graduating with a 1-year welding diploma before they ever get out of high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Which means they've saved money. There's no student debt. There's no loans. And they go out an 18-year-old and they're making money.
Yeah. I mean, I took a handful of classes when I was in high school, and it saved me about that time it was about $1,000. But still, like when you transfer that to 10 years later, and I went back to school and those credits still existed, think about the money it saved me 10 years later, so it was really kind of cool.
Yeah, and student loans are a problem right now.
Yeah.
So the more money you can save up front, the better it's going to be.
Absolutely. Yes. So, I mean, maybe that's the answer to this. What advice would you give students if they're looking to go to college?
When I was coaching baseball, I coached with Rick Peterson, who was the head coach there for a while, and he always said to our recruits when they didn't know, because a lot of our kids were transfer type students, right? They wanted 2 years and go into a 4-year institution. He said, find someone who has a job you'd really enjoy, then figure out how they got there.
Oh.
Right. So to find that person and what they do and think, man, that's cool. I want to be that guy or that lady, whatever. But what steps did they have to take? What degrees did they have to do? What certifications did they have to get? And then go after those types of steps.
Nice.
So really, sometimes I think our students come with no end goal in mind. They just start. And those are the ones that don't always complete because they don't have a goal. They don't have vision, right? They don't know where they're going. So you got to know where you're going to how to get there. So I think that's the biggest piece right there is to figure out where you want to get to, then what do I need skill-wise, credential-wise, degree-wise, if it's a degree, because education comes in 1,000 different ways, right? We're just one of them. But figure that out first and then go get those skill sets.
That makes so much sense because like a map and a compass doesn't do you any good if you don't have a destination in mind.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. That's actually really cool. I would have never thought about that as the answer, but that's a great answer.
Well, I've had a conversation with students about that sometimes.
Okay.
About, what are you looking for in life? Well, I don't know. I want to make money. Well, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Right. I mean, figuring that out.
But that is also like independent critical thinking. Like, okay, I have this thing I want to do. Now you got to go ask questions. How did you get there? Okay, well then how can I get there?
Correct.
I actually really like that answer a lot. This has been a lot more enlightening than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was just going to be an administrative job, et cetera, but you have a very, very deep job.
I'm not much of an administrator, to be honest. I sort of ended up in that role, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for a living.
But you have the skill sets that are needed.
I think so, yeah.
Yep. You have the skill sets that are needed and the personality and the way to communicate to the students that needs to be there.
Appreciate that. And I enjoy working with the students I work with. They're blue-collar individuals, so they're a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Well, I remember the first time we worked together, it was on the Iowa Great Places project.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Was it the boat ramp thing to begin with?
Yeah, well, we were doing, it ended up to be much bigger than what we started out to be. But that was my first time I met you when I was chairing that. And
that was a minute ago too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But, it was very successful. We were the first one in the state of Iowa to have Hamilton and Webster County, 2 counties approved, and brought 50 organizations together and about $1 million worth of money to do, the river project. Matt, that was part of it. That was his dream for a long time. The convention center in Webster City was part of it as well. That's
right.
So
Almost
bring
forgot
back
about
history
that.
there.
This has been really fun. I tend to end a lot of these the same way. Is there anything we didn't cover though that you would like to discuss with us?
No, I just Iowa Central's got a lot of opportunities for students. I was going to look up how many programs there is. I can't remember, but probably over 40 terminal type degrees to go into pretty much any profession available within our community.
Yeah,
we're always looking for new, but there's not many we don't specifically have. We may not have a specific profession. We have a program that can train you to get into that profession. So, and like I said, it comes in a million different ways.
Yeah,
we try to hit on all of them, but not every job needs Iowa Central. But if it does, we're available to help.
Yeah. One of my favorite things at Iowa Central was when I went there, I asked a lot of questions when I went back because I was going to do it, the right way. I was actually going to finish this time, but it was like, this doesn't seem to be a program. What do you guys offer? And they're like, we can offer you this, and then you can go there and finish it. Right. And I loved that about it too, because it was like, even if this still wasn't something explicitly that you could finish here at Iowa Central, they had courses to set you up for success at the next level. Yeah. And I always loved that about Iowa Central.
We try to create like a highway, right? That on and off ramps all over the place. So depending on where you start and where you want to finish, there's a place for you to go. Like you said, whether the accounting degree was a terminal bookkeeper type of scenario, or you wanted to become a CPA, right? There's all those pathways built into all those different programs.
Love it.
We try to do that anyways where it's feasible.
Yeah, this is so good. This is so good. All right, so I tend to end every episode the same way. I like to ask this question and see how people answer. We work at a marketing firm here. We do a lot of marketing stuff. Can you name a time in your life where marketing has impacted you and you possibly didn't realize it until afterwards? This could be billboards, commercials. You have a product in your hand and you're like, how did this get here? It could be TikTok shopping. I don't know what's impacting you. I'm
not much of a social media guy. No.
That's why you're so productive.
Well, hopefully. The first thing that comes to mind is you always market yourself, right?
Very good.
Like when I came back to Iowa Central, I was an assistant baseball coach, and I was only a year into faculty when my boss retired, Barb Anderson back then. And Dr. Paxton, who was at the college for a number of years, came to me and he said, I'd like you to be interim chair. And I was 26 years old at the time, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, nah, I'm good. But he convinced me to do that. And later on, we got to become good friends. And I kind of just asked him why, when you had, a number of other people potentially. And he just said, I liked the way you went about it with your coaching.
He was very intuitive.
Right. And it was like, I didn't do anything other than just do what I do, but he liked those things that I brought to the table. So I always thought that was just, not unintentionally, but you market yourself every day, and people are always going to remember little things about you that make a difference, whether that's a positive or a negative. And that can have influence down the road somewhere, when someone's making a decision about your future. And I don't know where I would have been without that conversation with Dr. Paxton back in the day. I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd be on spring break with the rest of the faculty, I guess. But it was something that I think that changed my life and the trajectory of my life and the way I live it and things like that.
Yeah, I love that when other people see something in you that you don't quite see in yourself yet. Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to take away from this was, if a result or an outcome comes, if somebody says, I want you to take this job, or or look at what happened with this marketing campaign, or somebody reached out and asked me this question, or you could just say why? How did this happen? Or why did this happen? And you can get more information out of it. And I feel like, as far as marketing, it's just like, oh, we made a sale. Why'd you make a sale? It's a lot more than just that. I remember once I was playing music, somebody booked a gig somewhere. It was way outside of the normal range of places we played. And I went up to him and said, how did you find this? The person that was singing, it was Jesse Wilson. And they said, well, we saw some of his TikToks that he was posting. And he infrequently posted on TikTok at the time, but it's like, you posted just enough for somebody deep into Minnesota to find you and say, we'll book you for a show. You can ask these why questions, and sometimes it helps you realize things you can uncover about yourself that are actually big positives that you might not have otherwise known.
Well, it's a small world anymore.
Oh, it's very small. Yep. Well, and I think you have such a great story, Neale, of coming from Australia as a student all the way. I mean, we need to turn it into the Iowa Economic Development. They can do a story about you staying here in Fort Dodge.
It'll be a short story.
No, it's a great one.
Well, we pulled 40 minutes out of this, so it's not that short.
No, not that short at all. Well, I have one last thing. We have Buster the Bulldog. He's our mascot, and the reason that he's our mascot is we're bulldogs to get our clients found online. But we always want to wish everybody good luck. So we ask you just to give a little rub on, on his head, Neale. And
he's licensed and everything.
He's licensed and everything. Yeah, very cool.
This was great. Thank you so much for this.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digital agent at spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.